Look, the only thing I'd say open it up is great to have a win under our belt, and now it's on to game 2. I'll apologize in advance if you ask questions about last week's game. Half of them I forget, because now it's all Oakland. I mean, truthfully, when it gets to Thursday, I'm usually on to the other team, but happy to open it up.
Do you remember anything about Juan Thornhill, his play? How do you feel like
I thought he tackled really well. I really did. That was encouraging. He had a couple, there's always a learning curve with a rookie, but for the most part, I thought he did a nice job.
The decision to start him over Sorensen.
Yeah, a lot of different things go into that. And I visited with Dan. Dan's a great team player, and he plays on a lot of special teams. There's a lot of reps there. And it started headed that way. I thought Juan did a good job during training camp and earned the starting spot, but we're going to need all of those guys, all the safeties back there.
What was the thought process to having Reggie go a no-go?
I mean, that's really the head coach's decision, to be quite honest with you. Where he has to decide who the 46 are, and some guys have to be deactivated, so it's probably a better question for Andy.
Steve, does the presence of the dirt in the middle of this game...
It's interesting. Last one ever, huh? Yeah, could be, yeah. No, look, you try not to let those kind of things distract you. I mean, Coach Reed, we all talk about wearing the right shoes and getting out there and testing the field before the game, so I'm sure our guys will do that.
You're a younger man than me, I think, but of a certain age where
Don't be so sure.
might have seen some of these games. Our childhoods were watching games.
Yeah.
And is it kind of a funny end of an era to think this might be the last time?
Yeah, in that stadium and with the dirt and the whole thing, I can remember as a child. Now, I grew up on the East Coast. I vividly remember Raiders-Chiefs game. Here's what I remember about it as like a 7-year-old or whatever I was. It was dark in the East. Now, the world wasn't as small then. And I don't think I'd ever been on a plane. But it was just that it was light out at the game they were in. That's what I remember. But I look at, I remember Hank Stram and the battles used to have with Al Davis. I remember it pretty well.
Hitch said you showed some video.
Yeah, it was a kind of a YouTube video, and Len Dawson was on. You probably have all seen it. I mean, I'm sure but it depicted what the rivalry is all about. I can't do justice verbalizing it. So you put the video on, and I think the guys get a little better feel for it.
You've been around the league a long time, and you a couple of different organizations. How long does it take for a coaching staff to get into
to feel that
rivalry? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you got to get in the middle of it. Some great rivalries. I mean, in the NFC East, there's a bunch of them when you coach for the Giants or the Eagles. I went to Baltimore for 2 years, and the Pittsburgh game is a big rival game. And you feel that. It's different. And I expect that we'll feel the same thing out there in Oakland, which I think adds to the excitement of the game for the players, coaches, everybody involved.
Steve, you talked a minute ago about Thornhill and his tackling. Was that a surprise, that part of his game?
Well, I will say, if I remember correctly, but if I go back to early training camp, I remember talking to all the guys about tackling. But there were some adjustments we had to make with Juan, and to his credit, he embraced the coaching, and I thought he did a really good job. Now, I'm knock on wood, I don't want to jinx anything because we've got a long way to go here. But
Steve's about the keys to defending a quarterback that gets rid of the ball.
Yeah, what are the keys? Look at tighter coverage. Talk all the time about these quarterbacks that get it out quick and complete it, and he looked really good the other night. If you can't affect him, you got to try to affect his targets. So somehow, some way, we got to do that early in the down or at the line of scrimmage. And 83 is a good tight end. He presents a problem. 16 is a good wideout. I mean, they got some weapons. I thought they played real efficient, real well, kind of the way I think Coach Gruden wants to play it. I was really impressed. I know everybody was.
Going into last game, it really felt like Frank Clark would have an advantage of the left tackle, and Minshew got off the ball out really quickly.
Yeah.
Part of the problem, you think, of him being able to impact?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe we could have done some different things call-wise. The ebb and flow of the game was different. The only thing I was disappointed was the 2 series in the fourth quarter. The game's a little bit out of reach. It's never over. We're talking about that over the sidelines all the time, but you make your calls a little different. Because the only thing that can hurt you at that point at 40-13 is a quick score. And so I'm going back to Frank. We probably didn't help him a little bit in that regard. I hope that happens all the time.
Steve, one of the things we talked about last week, you were just the idea of what communication would be like, how it would work, and it looked like maybe some moments it wasn't what you would have hoped.
Just a couple, but for a first game in a new system with a bunch of new guys, I mean, all in all, when I think of that, I don't remember writing on the sheet on the plane as I graded the game, a lot of communication things. There were enough mental errors, and I just, I was disappointed in the 2 scores in the fourth quarter. We all were, and we talked about that. I think we can play better in that situation. I think I can make a couple of better calls to help them. Hopefully that'll help.
When you say mental errors, is that just an individual misunderstanding?
Yeah, not so much communication.
Yeah.
No, just things that guys missed. Whether it was eyes or there's one I can remember vividly in my mind. I won't share it, but there's going to be mental errors in the game. You don't see the ones as much by the D line or the linebacker. The guys that are outside there, those are the ones that you see.
Steve, is it easy to plan for a guy that you have a lot of tape on compared to a guy like Josh Jacobs who you don't have much on?
Well, I will say this. Right now, Jacobs, I'm going to tell you what, I'm impressed by him. I think he's going to be one of those guys that as the season goes, people are going to start talking about. Now, I hope not after this week. But in preparing for him, look, we prepare the same way run defense-wise for any running back for the most part. And then you dissect, and Coach Daly does all this. Is he a east to west runner? Is he a one, cut back guy? Those kinds of things. And the guys that can do it all, like I think this kid can, because I think he catches the ball out of the backfield really well. You got to be at your best. I think he's really good.
You talk about people talking about Jacobs as a season. Do you feel like on your side, Damian Wilson could be one of those?
I hope so. I mean, he certainly did a nice job, this past week, and he's been kind of consistent that way. You guys have been out there. You've seen training camp, and he's a football player. He loves to play the game, and it's kind of contagious the way he plays. And I think all of his teammates have a great deal of respect for him in the way he plays.
So that's the kind of thing you can tell on film or by watching him before he got here, or did you sort of learn that about him?
Well, I think he's met above the expectations. Now, did I think he was pretty good at Dallas? Yeah, I did. I thought he could do a number of different things which made him valuable. He's built like a linebacker, In this day and age, there's a lot of linebackers out there that aren't quite as big as we're used to seeing them. But he's big and thick, and you don't. It's hard in free agency if a player has been at one team to get information from that team about the makeup of the player, because they wanted to sign him too, right? So they're not going to. So we didn't really know all the ins and outs, but we got us a good one, I think, in all regards, and everything.
Okay.
Good,
Thanks, guys.
great.